This is part 2 of The Devil's Master Plan. Roger Morneau. Is his story true? Was he brought in to the most elite, devil-worshipping organization on planet Earth? I'm John Razimus. I'm going to continue to investigate this story.
And he told us, he says, look, we worship spirits. We worship Lucifer and all his angels. They're just as beautiful as they did before they were cast out of heaven. But he says, we are the elite. We know the real truth about the Master and his angels. And they're not hideous-looking beings. They are gorgeous creatures. And from the paintings that they had on the wall of walls of that worship room, they were unique beings. Especially there was a painting full length painting of the fallen Lucifer above his altar, and that was very fascinating because he looked like a man of great intellect, high forehead, the way that he looked with his eyes, the way he had the eyes looking. It gave you a depth of perception of somebody that is very, very knowledgeable and powerful. Yeah.
There are wizards in this room right now. Okay.
As don't we now, but I guess you're right.
No, I mean, he's talking about the world you can't see.
Oh.
And that's definitely true.
Okay. Well,
everything you see in the world around you is only 1% of what actually exists. But we don't have to get into that conversation right now.
No.
We don't want to frighten the audience.
Let's put that off. Yeah.
The greatest lie he's ever told was convincing people he doesn't exist. And you see people that think that he's like red. He's got a goatee and a pointy tail and stuff like that. He doesn't. He's very beautiful. He's an angel. Why would he look like some monster? He's capable of looking just like you. He could be in this room right now. We wouldn't know it.
That's a scary thought.
It's a very scary thought.
They had beautiful paintings, life-size, of angels that had appeared, Satan's angels, dressed in different garment of different ages, and they had materialized. First they had materialized in those forms, then they were photographed, and then they made paintings of them. And when I visited the worship room of the gods, I was amazed to see there was over 100 of those beautiful paintings all around the worship room of the gods. And they were all Satan's top-notch spirit counselors.
So they had these life-size paintings of demons that had once appeared, and they made paintings out of them.
We were so amazed, my friend and I, we couldn't believe it. That, having been born and raised a Catholic, and you think of the devil, being in the middle of the earth and fire, covered with soot, with, they look terrible. And then you find out that, the great conflict that started in the courts of heaven.
And the demons are beautiful.
And the angels, Satan's angels, are beautiful beings, bright, beautiful beings. You see? The high priest told me that when he was in Chicago visiting there, that an angel appeared to him, and he says the brightness was so great that he couldn't look upon the being, but closed his eyes. The high priest told us, my friend and I, that the great master would very much like to have us initiated into the society on the 31st of October at their resort in the Laurentian Mountains, north of Montreal, north of Saint-Agathe.
The Laurentian Mountains are indeed very real. They exist in Quebec, Canada. Many private clubs are scattered throughout, and if the Devil's Secret Club was there in 1946, there's no way of knowing if it is there now. But if you have heard anything concerning animal sacrifices or anything remotely as hideous as that subject taking place around that area, please let me know. The investigation continues. I discussed my theories on Roger Morneau on the Anti-Occult Cast podcast with Brandon Young and John Evans.
Yeah.
The devil is a spirit. He's a spirit entity.
Right.
But his people, it would make sense that they're very small. He can't share that he exists to too many humans. So I think he tests it out on as small as 100 people or even less, because if he shares it to too many people, the secret would get out, and there'd be a big witch hunt. But Roger Morneau said there were hymnals. There were anti-Christian hymnal books. And Roger Morneau said he had a couple books in his house and candles, but he never said what those books were. But if you could track down a hymnal with purposefully blasphemous anti-Christian words in French, you might be able to track down the actual hymnal books. Who knows?
Wow, you really paid it. Wow, you took some really good notes on that. I gotta revisit it, watch the thing in its entirety. If people listening don't know, just go to the YouTube channel, Roger.
It's Morneau.
Morneau. Yeah.
I think it's possible the devil might have liked him because Roger Morneau sounds kind of like son of the Morneau.
I was gonna bring that up, but I thought, it's too crazy.
I know, it's
the
crazy.
last name, it is.
They're brainwashed into thinking it's politics. They actually think the devil is a god, and that he has a chance of winning, and that he's going to win the earth, which is a total lie.
Yeah. So I mean, what John's doing is he's bringing what really was an obscure sort of YouTube video that, like he says, I mean, I might have watched 30 minutes of it here and there. I did maybe try to watch the whole thing through once, and there were a few, flags up, and that was fine. But I thought he was coming from a authentic place, because what I do for a profession is basically analyze people's verbal behavior and their speech patterns, and not just that, but their whatever type of behavior they might have, body language being a big one. So I could tell that he for sure is either he's one of the best liars ever, or he is for sure telling the truth.
Roger Morneau, he said he was going to be initiated very soon, like the next week. And he said he didn't know what the initiation is like, but he heard it involved possibly killing an animal. So it was a sacrifice initiation. But for all we know, Roger Morneau might have been the human sacrifice. We don't know.
Ooh, like a Wicker Man thing, yeah.
And he said it was in an area of North Montreal, but I think it's possible it could have been North Quebec. It's possible he changed the locations just to be that much more...
That's a really good point.
Keep it from people hunting it down.
Exactly, because the first thing you'd want to... I mean, you wouldn't want to expose the real locations if you're... And I thought he just did that one interview, but it turns out, there's a documentary. You did some research on your recent video.
It's not released yet, yeah.
But there's a documentary coming out about him. He's written 6 books. I found some new YouTube clips about him. He is a very important person that you were bringing sort of the limelight, and I'm so grateful for that. And I think it's very courageous because. But anyway, to get back to where this happened, I think we got to focus on Montreal, Quebec City.
Yeah. There are a couple red flags that pop up when I watched it. That's the reason I stopped watching it the first time. It's the reason I stopped watching it the second time. I bulldozed through it, and I think there's a possible explanation that he's telling the truth, yet there are lies thrown in there. Let me give you an example. The biggest red flag that pops up for me is the high priest of this devil worship organization says, "Oh, everyone's deceived except for the Adventists. They're the only ones not deceived."
Yeah,
that was the hugest red flag. That was the hugest red flag I've ever heard in my life. And let me explain to you how it theoretically, according to the physics of Roger's story, there is a demonic spirit following him all over the place, spying on him. Now, obviously, that's the case. It's his familiar, or maybe even assigned from the organization as a special entity to track him down, and this entity, or a different entity, has the gift, and he's chosen out of 5 gifts. He said, "What do you want?" He chose to win at the horse races, so to see the future of the horse race winners. He said he saw in vision on the board the names of the winning horses. So this entity can show the future maybe a week into the future. I believe if that story is true, and I do have plenty of stories I've read and heard about of entities seeing the future, even farther beyond that. They can see possibly even a month in advance, but I think the farther the farther out it goes, the more fuzzy it gets.
Right.
But this entity, the same entity that showed him the horse winning races, also saw the future of Roger's life, and he saw that Roger would join the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So I think this entity fed to the high priest. Mention something about Adventists. He's going to leave us and join the Adventists. I think the high priest had that information from the demons, fed it to Roger, knowing Roger's going to leak the story, which would be a red flag built into the story to cause people to not believe the story ever happened.
That is fascinating.
I think that's a potential. I think that's a possible explanation why some red flags exist.
That's a huge possibility. That is something that, your main... There you go. Perfect example of the way John Razimus thinks.
There's only one thing I would caution against that reading, and I believe it's a very astute one. It all comes down to the concept of course, predestination and free will, the ultimate paradox, right? So essentially, I think the best the demon could probably do is reveal that him defecting and becoming a Seventh-day Adventist was a definite option in a host of many different options. See, the difference between, as you know, a demon looking at, of course, our free will, or an angel looking at our free will versus God, is God is seeing the past, present, and future all in the same moment, essentially, because he's created it all. That's how he can be God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost, all at the same time. And this is why Lewis said the real stick of it comes in that statement, all in the same moment or all at the same time. The thing with the demon is they can't see the master plan as clearly as God. They see it much better than we do. Frankly, I think they see the ultimate fire and the abyss. I think they're the real nihilists, the true nihilists, because they know that their home is ruined and that their place is an eternal damnation. But I think that you're right in so much as they definitely could see that victim's potential to escape through that route. Could they know beyond a reason of a doubt that he would eventually escape? I don't think so. I think he was very much open because his free will, his free agency did exist. However, they could see the inclinations long before we actually act on them. They can't read our minds from what I've been told, but I think they can very well guess as to our minds. Although,
they spied on him 24/7. They would have seen every doubt, any physical doubt. Like maybe he picked up a Bible very shortly by himself. We don't know. Maybe he started praying and he didn't mention that in the story. Just any type of tip-off would have tipped off these entities that stalked him.
Very, very true. I think that surveillance is almost the equivalent of almost reading some of our thoughts.
This has been John Razimus with Occult Unmasked on The Devil's Master Plan Part 2. Part 3 is coming soon. Thank you for watching. Be seeing you.